All right, click the links to support me over on Subscribestar. Join the Telegram, the locals. I don't know first thing about locals, but you can get on there and you can tell me how it works. So this is an interesting article. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because, as I'll show you in a sec, I'll scroll through it to show you the length of it. It's pages and pages, and there's a reason it's so long, because they're hiding the truth. So the short version is that the headline. They make an accusation of this headline from grooming to child abduction rights accusations against BLT advocates gets even worse. Okay, well, that's an interesting headline. You think it's like it says something, but it doesn't really say anything, right? Is it true or not true? The subheadline is a student-led group promised to protect BLT kids, sparked a right-wing response. Again, that doesn't really, like, what did you learn from that? Not much. Like, what's the conclusion? What actually happened? Now, here's the thing. The reason this article is so... Okay, I'll just scroll through it. It's so long. I don't know. We'll include the links so you can find this archived article. The reason this is so long is because they go through appeals to emotion in the beginning part of the article about how people feel and how they came out to their parents and what they were fearing. They felt trans students might not be safe and so on and such. You go, okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's an appeal to emotion, but usually with articles, you start with the facts. You start with the précis and then a summary and then the facts right up front to allow people to go through, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion, and, you let people reach their own conclusion, or at least media used to allow people to read their own conclusion. Now they give you the conclusion and then the appeal to emotion, and then they conclude with the conclusion, but they never show the argument and the foundation. So the reason this is so long is because they're hiding the story from you. The story is the accusation. They make two specific accusations. You see how long that is? That's insane. That's an insane article. Grooming, it's like, how do you define that? Loosely, an adult having contact with a child, obviously not their own. Well, teachers have contacts. A lot of people have contacts with children. But it's of a prurient nature. Like you can have limited contact with the kid for the certain purposes, like of teaching. Usually in your mind you think, oh, they're going to teach you, the accepted subjects of history and science and math. No, now they're teaching you about pronouns. So people feel like, oh, well, if you have adults teaching little kids about this, kids are natural mimics. If you start talking about pronouns and how you can have two daddies and you can love boys can love boys and girls. In fact, boys can be girls. That's grooming, because you're putting ideas into their head that weren't there before. And if you look at clinics, these like the sex clinics, you go, 20 years ago, there was, how many clinics were there? Oh, 3. And, they're doing it. They're like the rule of thumb used to be supposed to be over 25. And how many clinics are there now? Oh, there's like 50. And they're under 25. In fact, they're under 18. In fact, they're doing stuff to kids. Oh, okay. So it's like you guys created this industry that profited. I mean, you got 50 new hospitals that deal with this. Yes, the money is in the billions of dollars. The profit's insane. You got an industry created out of nothing, which is diabolical and evil, but also clever. So that's kind of how you loosely define grooming. An adult putting a kid on a pathway that they should, talking to kids about things and giving them information and brainwashing them into things that they shouldn't be. Now, there's no solution to fixing the schools. You can't fix the schools. You have to be in the schools to fix it. The only way to fix the schools is that homeschool, which obviously not everyone can do, but what everyone can do is you can talk to a bunch of other parents and set up, like, find one parent who's got the time, and you go, listen, we'll just pay you to take 10 kids, 12 kids in your living room. We'll pay you. We'll pay you instead of sending these kids off. And this is your job now to just be a teacher. And you just teach the basics. You don't need to teach anything about pronouns or Billy has 2 dads or any of that kind of stuff. Just teach the stuff, and you get paid well for it. You can, teaching 12 kids, it's something, but it's like, it's a little bit of an effort, but it's like, one, you get paid for it, and two, it's like, that you're saving these kids from a lifetime of misery, and a lifetime that might be cut short, because this is the left-hand path, the sinister path versus the dexterous path, the right-hand path that leads to family and tribalism and nations. So the other accusation is child abduction. And now the reason they wrote this long article, and with the beginning of the article is in these appeals to emotion, is because the accusations are true. They are grooming kids and they are abducting kids. By abduction, you're talking about an adult um, taking a child that is not theirs out of someone else's custody, the parent's legal guardian's custody. Yeah, the reason the article is so long is because they're doing both of these accusations. In fact, look at these two paragraphs they start the thing off with. You would think, like, at the beginning of Solange, you just say, oh yeah, these accusations are false, or they're true, but here's the reasons why. Well, the accusations are true. That's why the article is as long as it is. Okay, the next point is there's this binary between globalism and nationalism, where they want centralized authority, and they want the state, the government, the schools, government schools, not public schools, to step in and control the kids, where we think, no, the parents deal with the kids. The schools are just there to teach math and science. So they have a statement like this, like, we're worried that BLT students will not be safe in their schools, not be safe at home. Well, that's not your position. Then call the police, call the FBI. Parents raise the kids. If you're not raising other people's kids, raise your own kids. It's the school boards and the schools have got way out of line to think that no, there are no trans kids. That's a thought that the mainstream media and these, Weingarten running the teachers unions and these globalists put into these kids' head. There are no trans kids. Every once in a while, you might have a gay kid or something. Very young age, they might know that. Fair enough, but that's like you're talking about a tiny fraction percent. No, there's no trans kids because there's no trans adults. A boy is a boy, a girl is a girl. You can't be something you're not. But the idea that, like, oh, suddenly 30% of kids think they're BLT, they only think that because you put that into your head. If your teacher rides a motorcycle during the warm months, commutes to work on a motorcycle, kids are more likely to buy a motorcycle, and like, that's how kids work. No, kids aren't trans, and most kids are not. Oh, we're queer, non-binary, questioning. I don't know if I'm a boy or girl. Well, I mean, check. You can just simply look down, and do you stand up or sit down to pee? Because that will tell you what you are pretty quickly. None of this is real. None of these kids are all brainwashed. This is a huge atrocity happening to kids, and like 20 years from now, you're gonna look back at this period of just madness. And the kids who survive this, the kids who survive after being mutilated, are gonna look back and go like, why didn't the adults do something? Because America's not a country, it's an economic zone. But anyway, this concept of like, oh, the government needs, and this is coming from a high school senior, you're talking about a 17-year, 18-year-old is like coming up with these ideas and thinking like, why the hell would you listen? Why would you even interview a 17, 18-year-old? That's insane. You should be talking to parents. No, it's not your job to raise people your own age, to raise other people's kids. That's disgusting. The other point the guy makes is he says he's 18 and he goes, if you tell the school now, the law is that if you tell your teachers you're somehow BLT or something, then they have to tell your parents. Why are you telling the rule of thumb should be, oh yeah, don't that's not appropriate to talk to your teachers about. You shouldn't be disclosing information of your sexual identity or your sexual preferences to an adult. That's insane. And the teacher should not be talking about that to you. That should not even be mentioned in school. You're there to learn. There to learn physics and biology and chemistry and history and Latin and Greek, or at least you should be there. None of this is real. This is all just cultural Marxism from the Frankfurt School and the globalists. This is insane that you'd be having that communication back and forth between a child and an adult. This is all madness that is going to lead to horrific things. So the Daily Wire, they make a claim. The Daily Wire publishes this story, and then they followed up with saying, oh yeah, but the story was true, that activists were plotting to rehome BLT youth to run away with adults, queer-friendly adults. In the event of you needing to leave your home, we can provide you with emergency housing from a supportive, queer-friendly adult. So that's their own writing. And they also know that they would use money to fund Uber rides for students who needed to leave their parents' home. So they literally just admitted that the accusation is right. They have money to fund children to leave their homes to stay with queer-friendly adults. I don't, like, don't you see how insane that is? I mean, this is like, oh, you should call the FBI, have the FBI deal with these freaks. Yeah, well, unfortunately, no. The FBI is so busy worrying about January 6th, or they have to knock together some. There's some FBI leakers that come out and go, yeah, they're Mayorkas and Garfinkel are telling us we need to focus on people of European descent who are allegedly committing bad acts, like the people who built the country. We need to focus on those people. Like, oh, that's kind of weird because I mean, statistically, it's like they're not running around Detroit, Chicago, Oakland, LA. It's like they're not really the problem at all. It's kind of weird that you focus on them and not everything else. Anyway, so that's the point of the article. Is like they literally admit, they go, oh, these students are so homeless, or suffer from homelessness, and so we're gonna take them, we're gonna help them leave their parents' house and stay with queer-friendly adults. Like, do you hear yourself say that? Do you know how sick that sounds? Like, I mean, you know what would happen. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know who wrote this article. Let's take a look at this. Catherine Joyce. Love to investigate you, Catherine Joyce, to say something like this. This long article where they, like, the accusation, the grooming and child abduction. Well, yes, that's exactly what's happening. And they do make one interesting point where they say that the quiet part is a secondary implication if one's enemies really are an ill-defined yet pervasive threat to children, well, wouldn't be justified in stopping them. I'm glad you said it and I didn't. Because, yeah, you are taking children away from parents. Like, you're literally doing what you're accused of doing. And Salon Magazine is like, oh, so Salon Magazine is... Salon is A-okay with this, and Catherine Joyce is A-okay with this too. It's like, where'd the adults go? Oh, the adults left America. Like 20 years from now, if the kids who survive, because there's a lot of self-harm with this, obviously, and it's not just the obvious self-harm. There's a lot of drug use, drug overdose, prostitution that goes along with this lifestyle. It's not a pathway you want to go down. It's not a pathway you want to push kids down. It's like it didn't exist 20 years ago, but it suddenly exists now. No, it doesn't. Get the fuck out of here. It's just cultural Marxism from these destroyers of society. This is not a path. No. There are no trans kids. No. This is like what hills to die on. Yeah, these are hills to die on. But the thing is, the country, diversity is weakness. The country is so diverse. You look at, like, if you're of tribe A and they're of tribe B, you're not going to go to bat to save someone else's kid of an entirely different tribe. Which is why they diversified the country in the first place. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, star if you can. See you guys on the next episode.